Hey guys, so it's our Friday one-to-one time, and I think these videos are now becoming my favourite ones of the week. Like, they're a lot more enjoyable than I thought they were going to be. I thought the idea of opening up to a load of people I've never met before about my own personal experiences was going to be a bit weird, but in my mind, the way I see it when I'm doing these videos, it's like I'm talking to a friend of mine down the pub or something, talking through my own experiences and what I've learned from them or what you could probably learn from them. And it seems from the comments on the previous videos on the Friday that you're enjoying them as well. So as long as we can keep thinking of new interesting topics that you want to hear from me about and that I want to talk about learning to trade or trading itself or working or whatever else, then we'll just keep them going until the point that you and I get bored of each other, no longer see eye to eye, and we're like an old married couple that never talks anymore and things fizzle out. But until that point, we'll keep the spark going and we'll keep on these Friday sessions. So today I'm going to be talking about how you balance work with trading. This is a topic that I've been a bit reluctant to talk about before, because I thought, you know, if it's an actual lesson I'm saying this is what you should do, then what I think you should do is actually very different to what I do. So I've been reluctant to do it because I don't want to be a hypocrite, but these videos are perfect for it because I can tell you my own experience. And I have to clarify, by the way, I can only talk from my own experience. There's been a lot of people in the previous videos that have commented saying, it's stupid, why did you do that? I'd do this, you'd never see me in that situation. Well, fine, you're a different person to me. I can only talk from my point of view. Some of you will relate, some of you won't, or maybe you'll relate to some of the things I'm saying and others not. But we've all got our own flaws, we've all got our own strengths. None of us are perfect. So this is just my point of view. Now, when it comes to balancing work and trading, I am terrible because I do things to extremes. This counts for work-life balance as well. Like, what work-life balance doesn't exist for me. Before we get into this, there's a distinction we have to make because there's a big difference between learning to trade when we're working and actually trading when we're working. When we're trading when we're working, we want to find a way to fit trading around our work schedule in order to be able to monitor our trades properly and to make profit, right? Our goal when we're trading around work or trading in general is to make consistent profit. Not just to make profit, but to make consistent, dependable profit. However, when we're learning to trade while we're working, which I imagine the chances are if you're watching this video, you're probably doing is learning to trade when you're working. But the whole goal when we're learning to trade is not to make profit, but to learn. You should be using a demo account. You should be trying to learn. So in that case, you're not trying to find ways to fit your trading around your work schedule to be able to monitor your trade and get good results. What your aim should be is to experience as many situations as possible, to really see as many interactions, as many different situations, scenarios, all of that as possible. Let's say that when you're working and trading, you might be trading on a higher time frame because it gives you more time to monitor it when you might be busy on other things. While you're learning to trade, you should be on a smaller time frames in whatever time slots you can find, just so you get so many different interactions and so many different scenarios that you get to see. Whether or not you make money doesn't matter. Once you start to feel like you've learned, then you can start to transition to actually trying to make money. Because think about it, right? The amount of things you can experience on a 5-minute chart, you're going to experience so many more things in the space of a week than you would if you're doing a daily chart or an hourly chart. It just makes logical sense. Now, when I was learning to trade, I wasn't working at the time. Well, I was working 2 part-time jobs, but my main thing was that I was studying, so I had a lot of extra time. But when I was actually trading while working, that was a different story because my job, I would say, was quite high pressure, or at least it required long work hours. So sometimes that would mean, I'd say on average, I'd be home by 8 o'clock or maybe even a little bit later, but it could sometimes be that I'm not home till midnight or that kind of thing. Now, with trading, I've always been a big believer in having a routine because you start to understand the certain action at that time of day. If I'm trading between 7 in the evening till 9 in the evening or something, I know what the action is usually like at that time, so I know when things are different and when there might be opportunities because it's different. So it's important to stay in a routine as much as possible. But obviously, if you're working different times, sometimes till 8 in the evening, sometimes till 12, it's not always possible. Now, my actual trading itself, I was basing it on 1-hour charts. So I'd sometimes use 5-minute charts in the evenings to try and find more precise entries and stuff. But basically, my entries were mainly on the 1-hour chart and then holding on to it for a few days at a time. So really all I had to do was be monitoring what was going on. But as I said, I could monitor my charts during the day, so that was a big benefit. But obviously not everyone has that benefit. And there were also times when I was going into meetings or that kind of thing that I couldn't really follow what was going on properly. So you just have to decide before you open a trade whether there's going to be certain times that are going to be more crucial. And there were times that I kind of, let's say, cheated because I'd go home to watch an ECB press conference or things like that if I had a trade open and I really needed to monitor it. Sometimes I used to take my laptop into work with me, and I stopped doing that after a while because I had made 2 mistakes that I thought, you know what, I'm not going to allow myself to do that again. So I used to take my laptop, and just down the road I'd go and sit in Starbucks during lunchtime, the times I actually took a lunch break, and sit there, open up the laptop and try and trade. And I remember one time I was trading gold, and it was a time when like it was stuck in like such a tight range. I can't remember what it was now, but it kept reaching this level and it was straight away be reversing off there. So it kind of felt like I could trade during my lunch break because of that specific reason. It was so dependable. I see during the day on the live charts that it's hitting a certain level, go to Starbucks at lunchtime, open a short trade or a long trade or whatever, and bang, make some easy money. But then of course there came the time that it broke through, and I suddenly had like this limited amount of time to deal with this situation, and it became too stressful. I lost money that I shouldn't have lost. Stop doing that. There was another time that I was on a training course. I can't remember what the training course was, but I remember there was a lot of role playing stuff we had to do there. So you were always like suddenly like having to go and talk to people. It's not like you were watching a seminar and you could just do things without people noticing. Another mistake that I learned about. In these videos, it seems like I make a lot of mistakes, but that's how you learn. Like all the things that I'm telling you about along the way, I don't do them anymore because the whole point is I learned from them and moved on, and that's why I'm telling you about them so you can learn from them as well. So anyway, it got to the point where it was clear like the ad hoc trading where I'd just trade wherever I could steal some time was getting me such like whipsaw type results, sometimes going really well, sometimes not at all. It was better just to wipe those ones out and stick to the specific daily routine that I had. And by the way, that even includes something that I see a lot of you guys doing, which is that you'll take some time off work, let's say a week off work, and all the rest of the time you're trading in the evenings or trading over longer time frames. Then you take a week off work and you decide that you want to trade more actively on intraday during that time. Now, this is fine if you're learning, because like I said, you just want to go through as many different situations as possible without caring about the results. But if you're wanting to trade profitably, it's not a good move because first of all, it's out of your normal routine, out of your normal style of trading. Second, when you have any session, any trading session, one thing you need to get used to is that you might go through a whole session without opening a single trade. And that's just part of trading. It's frustrating, but you start getting used to it. But if you've taken a whole week of holiday off work and then you sit there and you're not getting the trades, then you're going to feel like you wasted your holiday. So in order to like combat that or to avoid that situation, what we tend to do is to force our trades and to overtrade. So what you end up with is a week of bad results on top of wasting your holiday time. And on top of that as well, I think it's important for everyone to have a break. So if you're taking time off work, just have the time off work. Don't worry about trading. I had to learn that mistake. I'm sure you'll go through learning that mistake as well, but maybe you'll listen to me and you won't do it. But anyway, what I realized that I needed to get into a strict routine. So my routine was as follows. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd check the charts, I'd check the RNS, the Regulated News Service, I believe it stands for, which is when back when I used to trade equities intraday as well as Forex and commodities and all of that kind of thing. And by the way, like over the years, I started to realize that over the long term, I can trade more asset classes, but in the short term, I need to stick to very specific things that are going to play to my advantages. And that for me was currencies, Forex. So I only trade Forex intraday and intra-week these days, but I used to trade all kinds of things, which sort of spread out my focus and meant that I wasn't focused on anything in particular. So that was not a good idea. I checked what's going on in the markets and the different news websites that I had while getting ready for work. And then on the train on the way to work, I'd be checking the charts, listening to Bloomberg TV sometimes, just trying to get myself in a frame of mind, understanding what's going on, just so that I'm focused. But then bear in mind, I was going to a job in financial services anyway, so all of this stuff was good prep for speaking to clients during the day or speaking to colleagues or whatever else. Anyway, now, working in the bank, I was able to keep monitoring my charts during the day, so I was very lucky with that. But I'm sure a lot of you won't be able to monitor your charts during the day. However, having said that, I couldn't have a broker open up on my computer. It had to be like on my phone. So I didn't tend to trade. It was only if I had trades open. So I'd be looking at time frames like 1 hour or daily, and I'd be looking to open a trade and hold it for a few days or maybe even a couple of weeks or something. Because the whole point was like sometimes I'd have to go into meetings, and when you're in meetings you can't be monitoring the charts properly because you need to be in the moment, focused on what's happening. And so if you're in like a drawdown at that point in time, you don't want to be distracted by it or anything else. So you need the time to adjust. Like you don't want a sudden fluctuation to happen during the time that you're about to go into a meeting, and it ruins your work life. Like you have to put work first, or at least I believe so. Like if someone's paying you money to be at work, you bloody focus on work. Like that's the way it should be. Otherwise, in my silly mind, it feels like I'm stealing. So I have to work hard when I'm at work. But there were situations where I'd kind of cheat it a little bit, and I'd maybe go home if, you know, the ECB press conference is on, so I can check that and make sure that there's not going to be any huge fluctuations that ruin my position. And in fact, there was one time when there was a scheduled Ben Bernanke speech, and I think it was in the build up to one of the quantitative easing announcements. So every time he said something, then it was having a big reaction in the market. And I can't remember if I was long or short gold, but it was in the anticipation to what he was going to say. And then when it started, then it was clear that it was going to be the other way. So I flipped the trade and made a good amount of money on that trade, a good return on flipping that trade. And I hardly ever flip trades, but I just happened to be at that time, right place, right time. Anyway, I got sidetracked there, and that's not relevant. So let's get back on track. So during the day, I'm checking the charts. I'm using timeframes that go over a longer period of time. I'm then focused on my work. But then it'll get to evening time. So evening time on the way home, I'd usually be reading the newspaper, start to try and get my mind into the fundamental situation. So I want to constantly be building that. Again, I was lucky enough that at work, you have to start understanding the house view of the bank for certain situations. You're talking to clients about what's going on in the world of finance and investments and looking at their portfolios. So when it came to like building a fundamental picture, like I kind of had time during the day doing that. Then in the evenings when I'd get home from work, that would be my time to focus on the charts. And by the way, I'll just add, it is bloody tiring to be trading when you're working. And if you come home in the evenings, let's say it's the evenings, you come home from work and you're too tired to do your analysis properly, you can't focus on it, or you can't open trades with the right frame of mind that you should, like you can't make the clear decisions and you're not sure what you're doing, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Like if you're not going to trade at your best, or at least be focused enough, then there's no point doing it at all, because the only way you're going to be consistent is to be focused. So at that point, if it's not going to be possible to have that situation without being tired after work, you need to reprioritize. You need to say, do I want to trade that much that I'm willing to give up my work and maybe find a different job? And if that's not possible because maybe your job's that good, or that you want that stability, or it's not responsible enough because you've got other people depending on you, then you need to maybe think about, is trading the right thing for me? Now, this might sound extreme and harsh, and I know it does seem that way because, you know, lots of people sell trading as this thing that everyone can do. And I believe anyone can learn, but I don't think it's right for everyone. But it seems almost harsh and unfair to say that trading's not for you if that's your situation. But it's just reality. Like with anything where you're going into business in something, or you're getting a career in something, there are certain barriers to entry. Like if you don't have the money to start a business, or you don't have the time to start a business, you can't start a business. If you don't have qualifications to be a doctor, you can't be a doctor. With trading, there's certain barriers to entry. The first is you need money, and the second is you need to have the right time and environment and stuff. Then of course you need to learn and all of that kind of thing, but you know, that's the whole point of a channel like this one, is to learn. But you just have to be realistic and stop thinking that life has to be fair. Life isn't fair. So I mean, that was basically it. And now obviously that was when I was working for someone else. Since starting my own company, like the initial stages of having my own company, my time was pretty much dedicated to trading. Around the clock, it would just be trading. So that was working and trading at the same time. But then things move on and you have other responsibilities in the business. That meant that, you know, that took up some time as well, but still trading was the focus. But then I end up in a situation I'm in now, where the business has come along a couple of phases, and now we've got loads of different projects going on. So there's loads of plates spinning. I've got to divide my attention between things, which means that you don't get your undivided attention on one thing, which for trading is what you need a lot of the time. Because for one, if you're focused on other things, you're working on something, then probably you're going to miss opportunities on the chart. If you're focused on the chart and you have a trade open, it's very difficult to actually focus on your work because you're distracted. So you have to find this balance. Now, what I've found, the thing that's worked best for me, is that I know even if I have a meeting scheduled or different pieces of work scheduled that need to be out, or certain things that I've committed to, then I know that probably every at least 2 hours I'm going to have a chance to check the charts. And I have the charts open all the time. It's very important that I'm always monitoring the markets, always checking things over. So what I do is now I open trades based on knowing that they're going to be open for a minimum of 2 hours. If there's a chance that something's going to happen in between that's going to ruin a trade, then either I have to accept that my stop loss is going to protect me there, or like just don't open a trade at all. So that means that every 2 hours I can come back. Now the problem with that, and something that I haven't yet sort of got over, which I need to at some point, is that when there's a trade open, if I don't have anything scheduled, but there's work that needs to be done, then that work will just be pushed to one side and I'll be trading for that whole day, because then that one trade maybe closes. Now I'm looking for the next opportunity and I'm focused on the charts again. And it ends up that I get pushed back with my work and then I have to catch up. And that's not the best thing either. So, like I said, I found that trading the 1 hour chart works best for me. I have the same routine. In the mornings, I wake up, I check the news for an hour. I then will work through the day, checking the charts every couple of hours, but having them open on my screen, but checking them for opportunities every few hours. And then sometimes in the evening, if I'm up to date on everything, by about 6 o'clock, then I might switch to some sort of intraday time frames and start looking at what trades I can open based on the evening session, or that will be closed before I finish my day. But that doesn't happen so often because you get this like time dilation situation in the evenings and it gets messy. But basically, like, if I'm going to sort of take the points from this video and try and sum up from my own experiences, what I'd say for you guys is, first of all, remember that you need to have a life as well as trading and working. So it's not just work and trade. You need to have a life, otherwise you end up getting burnt out and horrible things. And we've been through that in the previous videos, but I'm still learning how to get that balance properly. But you need to get it, just have a fresh mind. A lot of people, when they take time off, they come back to it and they're like, whoa, I see things so clearly now. It definitely works sometimes. But you need that balance. You also need to get a steady routine. Like, I don't care if you're on a shift with your job where sometimes you work in nights, sometimes you work in mornings, whatever. You need to get a shift where you know, like, at this time, I'm doing this. This one I'm checking the charts. Even if you have to set an alarm, even if you have to get a Pomodoro timer, which I tried at one point where I was doing 40-minute Pomodoros, like, that worked quite well actually. But like, you just need to find a way to sort of be on a schedule. Don't do ad hoc trading. You're not going to succeed in that way. Only do it if you're learning to trade. And also, that's the other thing, when you're learning to trade, don't worry about results. Just focus on getting as many sort of experiences under your belt, like just improving constantly. Don't worry about the results until after. And if you're after results, then you need to be consistent on a routine. So of course, I know this video is a little bit rambly, like the other personal experience ones, because I'm talking without a plan. And I'm taking things from here and this experience and mixing up this thought with this thought. But I think with a topic like this one, the most value you can get from it is if I say you can ask whatever questions you want about my situation with working and trading at the same time. So that way I can answer you, because I'm sure there's specific things you want to know, because I'm sure in your own situation there's difficulties that you've got to overcome with trying to fit trading around things. So in the comment section below, if you want to ask some questions, sometimes it takes me a few days to get back to you with comments and emails and that kind of thing, because we get a lot of them and I've got other things, like I said, a lot of plate spinning and trading, but I will get back to you. So if you have any specific things you want to understand about how I fit things, especially now, like I've got so much stuff going on, like it's been almost a miracle to fit everything in. So if you've got questions specific to that, let me know and I will let you know the answer. And also, if you have any other topics that you want me to cover in these videos specifically about my own experience of things, leave it down below. And if you want to hear more videos of me rambling on about various other topics, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next video very soon. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.